All right, guys and gals, we are here with Imari. She is part of our Merchant Hero program, and she has successfully closed a deal with one of our booked appointments. Our location finder team got her a booked appointment, and she was able to go in there and actually speak to the merchant and ultimately close the deal. So today we're here to talk to her about that process, start to finish, and hopefully for you guys watching this, you'll be able to pick up some good gems, good maybe tactics or strategies that you guys can start using when you're closing your own deals. So first off, Imari, thank you for your time.
Of course.
We're here with John from Pitbox as well, as usual. He's on most of these calls. Yeah, let's go ahead and get going. So let's start off from the very, very beginning. So you got the booked appointment from us. Actually, no, before that, let's want you to introduce yourself a little bit, maybe where you live, kind of what you do, make
Okay.
quick, maybe 60-second intro to who you are.
So my name is Imari. I live in upstate New York. I am a mental health counselor as well as I work on the Veteran Military Crisis Line. So that's the national crisis line. And yeah, I'm a mom. And yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
Cool. Let's kind of walk through the process of getting this. So let's start from the very beginning. So you got the booked appointment
Hmm.
service, and the booked appointment came in. We
Yep.
notified you that there was a lead
Yeah.
available. What was kind of like your first next step, and how'd you go from there?
Um, as soon as I get a lead, I know they say to reach out within, 24 to 48 hours. I try to jump on it really quickly because for me, I'm like, well, it's just a quick phone call. No different than if I was to call a friend or someone really quickly. So I try to get them on the books, try to get them on my calendar. I call and I introduce myself and I generally am like, oh, you may have spoken to so and so, my colleague, because usually the person's name is at the top of the little, like, I guess you could say, rundown handout from the conversation for the lead. So I usually am just like, you talk to my colleague so and so. I just wanted to follow up with you in regards to your merchant services to see what it is that you're looking for and what you're in need of. But I'd also like to meet with you in person so we can sit down and talk about it. And then we really just go from there and just plan to meet with one another whenever. And then I'm pretty good about following up like, "Hey, I'm going to be coming out, in an hour. Just want to make sure we're still on." Also too, because some people can be flaky, so I don't like to waste my time either, right? So I do like to follow up before going just to make sure we're still on. And then I'll go for sure. And then we just kind of have our conversation from there. Um, it can be a little nerve-wracking sometimes, like, especially if you're not used to, I don't want to say sales, but sales in a sense, but I do try to keep it like very conversational so I don't feel salesy or like a salesman because it's not in my background. At least I just kind of go off of me being a people person. I'm pretty social, so I try to use that to my advantage.
Mhm.
Um, but I've had, some owners ask, certain questions like, okay, well, how does this work? What is this percentage, or how is the percentage determined and whatnot? And like my last lead before going, I asked John, I was like, can you give me a quick rundown of this math really quick? Because I always forget it. So that time I put in my notes, so now I won't forget. But definitely being able to call John or text John has been like godsend. So yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, for sure. As you guys go through the process with the merchant, what are maybe some questions that they had for you when you first met up?
Well, they want to know about the like just our business and like what we have to offer. So depending on what system they already have in, I like to go through the catalog with them and just show them like the physical options just so there's something for them to see
Yeah.
while talking about, you know, our program and what we have to offer them. And then from there, I try to, ask, okay, well, how much did you already spend on your current system? So that while I'm talking to them, I can also calculate in my head, okay, how am I going to go about this? Am I going to offer some sort of a free something or and then up the percentage? Or
Mhm.
am I going to still have them pay for it or let them do like a little trial run with the system before they pay? So I try to get the ins and outs of like what they're already working with first, like through the conversation. Um, and then kind of go from there. And that's what helps me like in the closing aspect. Also too, then that's where the math comes in when, we're trying to show them the benefits of using our program versus whatever they have right now.
Gotcha. So do you
Yeah.
pull up that catalog? I think you're the first person that's actually mentioned that in any of these interviews. That's really interesting. So
Mhm.
do you actually pull up the like page on your phone or with the equipment on it?
Yeah, I've also been bringing my iPad too, just because it's a
Okay.
bigger screen.
Yeah.
So I bring my iPad, I have that ready to go. But yeah, I do. I pull it up. I'm a visual, I'm a visual
Yeah.
learner. So for me, I'm like, well, I would want to see it, so they're gonna want to see it. So I pull up the catalog so that they're able to see the options that they have to see that, what they're working with is very similar, if not the same, to what we're offering. Just, the cash discount program is attached to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. I bring it and I show
Yeah,
them.
that's really cool that she does that, and it's well, at the same time she's doing a lot because it's establishing credibility. We're a legitimate company.
Yeah.
We have a variety of different options, and she's conversating, while they're looking over the stuff,
Yeah.
and then really key, like I haven't even emphasized that as much, which I'll do on the next one, but yeah, what essentially what she's able to do is ask the right questions to gather enough information to determine what we're gonna offer them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And that's pretty good instincts of her to be able to do that right off the top. And then probably from the medical field, obviously a patient comes in, they're like, okay, what is your ailment? What is aching you? Okay, what are we going to prescribe to them? So I
Yeah.
think that's a really good technique that I always use it. It's very natural for me. But it's something that, we also need to teach people to do as well. And I think she's
Yeah.
doing a great job.
I was just like, oh, I mean, I have it pulled up on here. I might as well bring it. It's just something
Mhm.
for the client to look at, and it's
Wh-
easy.
What are some of those questions that you learned to ask to really ascertain, like how do we negotiate or offer the best deal to this person?
If I'm being honest, I kind of wing it. Like it really depends on the conversation. Um, and I learned this from like when dealing with clients and having to ask questions that they don't really want to answer. I make it
Mhm.
very conversational. So I kind of, depending on what way the conversation goes, I'm like, ooh, I can stick this in there.
Yeah.
But um, like for some of them, like, if we're talking about the POS system, I'm like, okay, so, you have this here. How has this been working for you? Has there been any, downfalls to the system? What is it about the system right now that you like or you don't like?
Mm.
And then as they're explaining, I'm thinking about what system we have or like how we could be better. Like my recent lead, um, like I said, he had one of the, what was it? Which one was it, John? It was
Of
the
the A920,
Yeah, it was the
the
A920 he
PAX.
had, and it identical to one of ours, and it was already a cash discount system. So he already had everything, right? So I was like, "Ooh, how am I gonna do this?" But what was nice was, like I said, that he was very welcoming. The conversation from start was just like friends, and not only that, he he hated his system. The people he was with before, I don't even remember what they're called, something warehouse, but they he has no personal contact. They're out of state. And every time he calls, he can't get anyone on the phone. The customer service sucks. He said they don't answer the phone, or he can never really, he says they're always constantly transferring him. Nobody can ever answer his questions. He said he's lost business because of the system, because it's shut down and he hasn't been able to like take payments and stuff because of the card uh reader, because it's a handheld.
Mhm.
But I guess what was interesting for that company, they didn't charge him anything. So like he got the system for free, and it was really all nothing out of pocket for him.
Mhm.
Um and so again with that, I'm like talking to John, like, okay, so how do we play this? Because we want to match what he already has, right? Um, so that's what that was kind of like our play. So we were trying to match that. So essentially what we did was we offered him the system for free.
Hmm.
Because I mean, when you really look at it, I think it would have been not not too much on our end to cover really.
Yeah.
So we went with that option. I also didn't mind it, based on just the conversation that I had with him, and we were talking about some of other business owners he might know that might be interested. So it was really like we were building a working relationship at that point. So I was like, sure, like I can, do this for you, and
Yeah.
you send me a few people my way, of course. So that was really nice too. And then too, he really appreciated having someone like me in the same city as him
Yeah.
that he could call. And I told him, I'm like, we have a good customer service. I was like, but if you ever need anything, you're not far from me. So I don't mind, coming out and helping you out with, whatever, or call me,
Yeah.
So it went over really nicely.
Yeah, and a lot of times the key thing about being a local representative, a lot of it just has to do that he might call you and say, "Hey, my system isn't working," and then
Right.
Anne Marie can say, "Okay, let me call my tech department and we'll get on it right away." And then she can call our office, "Hey, can you please reach out to my client? His terminal's not working," and then that
Mhm.
handles from him having to call an 800 number and
Yeah.
go through all
Right.
of that.
Yeah,
That's a big
because he
deal.
had to have his system, he said, swapped out like 8 times, like
Mm.
that one system, and he even had like one of his old ones just sitting in there. He's like, I don't even know what to do with this. And at first he was like, well, you think I could use it? And I was like, well, it's probably pre-wired for whatever they have going on. So we'd have to recalibrate it. It would be
Yeah.
for whatever we have. We'd have to send it in. So he's like, yeah, true. But yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, it sounds like a nightmare.
What was the biggest selling point for that person that got him over the line? Was that just the customer service piece? Did you guys offer him a lower percentage? Like, what was the thing that really got him to
We
basically
kept the
sign on the line?
percentage, I think pretty much where it was at from what he already had. So he was already used to percentages. He didn't care about that. That
Yeah.
wasn't
Yeah.
which is something that I feel like I've run into with other leads is
Yep.
the percentage and them just kind of wrapping their head around the concept more or less. With him, he was already on board with the percentage. He didn't care about that. It was already, something that was set. So his customers are already used to it, right?
Mhm.
Uh with him, it was the customer service
Okay.
aspect, like,
Okay.
by far, and he really, really liked the fact that I was there, and he could talk to me in person, and that, I told him he could call me, and I just
Mhm.
told my customer service is way better than whatever you're dealing with, you
Yeah.
know? So, yeah, and he that was really all he needed to
Really? Okay.
yeah, that
Same
was, like
machine, same rate.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
pretty much a walk
and
in the
Okay.
park.
and that's what's cool about it. That you know, some people shy away from clients that already are on the cash discount, but this is a client that was already on the cash discount,
Mhm.
already at 3.5%, and we were able to keep it at 3.5%. And sometimes we're able to eliminate back fees that they have or hidden fees that they have on the back end and still keep them on that percentage. And in this situation, it was awesome that it was the customer service was key, and that's to show everybody that look, at the end of the day, you also sell yourself,
Yeah.
and these business owners like the idea that, hey, this is going to be my local rep. Just kind of like if I say, this is my barber, and I go to my barber, I'm not going to go to let anybody else cut my hair. I'm going to go to my barber. This is
Right.
the person that cuts my hair. Same thing with this. They're like, oh, they feel like they have a personal representative that's there in case anything happens. And a lot of times they may not call you for 2 or 3 years, and there's no issues with the machines,
Yeah, right.
but they just feel comfortable that you're there.
Right. Yeah, because I think a different lead that I talked to, his rep was in Buffalo, which is not too far from us either. But it was kind of like they came, they set it up, and he hasn't heard from them.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's just like things like that where, if you really figure out their pain spots with the current system that they have, you just kind of build up your business on what we can offer on top of that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, that's really good there too. That's another thing I'll cover in my trainings, figuring out their pain spots. That's
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. That's really, really key here because basically you sold an entire deal that had nothing to do with the system or the rate. It was really the personal service. And you would have only gotten that information or know how to present it in that way had that person, obviously told you, right? Hey, this is the thing I've been frustrated the most about is the lack of personal service. And so you kind of immediately use that as the main selling point, and that got
Oh,
you
yeah.
over the line. So yeah,
It's
very
like
cool.
it's like so easy. I was shocked. I think I was like shocked while talking. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's this easy. Okay. And I know that, you know, not all, leads will be this easy. Trust me. I
Yeah.
mean, he wasn't my first like lead that I met with, right? I've met
Yeah.
with others and it was definitely tough. So, but it's definitely nice when, you do have one that's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So,
And also, the good thing is that you'll see that the more people you talk to, the easier it's going to be because you're
right.
going to learn from the past ones when you didn't
Hmm.
know. From the first appointment, you may have not had as much information to the
Yeah.
second appointment. To the third appointment, now you've heard more stuff. So that it just becomes easier and easier.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I would say too, with my very first two sessions, I didn't bring my iPad. You know, I didn't
Mm.
bring my iPad, but I think it was the conversation I had with someone else that triggered me to like bring it because it's like, okay, well, I'm talking about these machines, but it always helps to have a visual.
Yeah.
So then
That's
I
key.
started bringing my
Yeah.
iPad so that they could see it. I'm not too crazy about paper, but if you want to print them out, print it out, or
Yeah.
bring your iPad if you have, or maybe your computer or something, whatever you're comfortable with. But to always have a visual is the best. And then I would recommend though having paper applications. I learned that from my second to last lead because he was a little bit more old school and I showed him the application via my iPad, but he wanted the hard copy.
Mm.
So I went to the library, I printed it out for him and brought it back. But, you know, in the future, if you have a few printed copies, it kind of saves you from having to do that. And just make sure you have one or two of each because the applications are different. If it's Clover versus non-Clover.
Okay, cool. We can pretty much wrap it up here. And let's end with this, which is what are some final thoughts you have for somebody that's watching this right now and maybe they just sign up for the program or they're anxious about going out there and talking to a business owner and trying to close their first deal?
I'd say if you're new, definitely, get right on it. I think it also will settle some of the anxiousness and anxieties behind just the amount of money you just spent. Honestly. But yeah, it's like if you get right on it, you'll start to the sooner you get on it, the sooner you'll start to see a return on your investment, honestly. So that's number one. Number two, you have a whole team that's there to support you. I'm very vocal with my team. So as soon as I call the lead, I let them know, hey, I called the lead. This is what they said. This is when our appointment is. And then same thing with when I leave after meeting with the lead, I'll let them know right away, okay, this is what the conversation was. They're interested or they're not interested because I want to keep that line of communication open so that if something doesn't go the way we wanted, they can get right on getting me another lead. Because for me, I'm like just straight to it. I want to get as many leads under my belt as I can. And I also want to utilize their service to the best of my ability, right? And my other biggest thing is call John. Call John, text John. He's a great resource. Honestly, I think I've become more comfortable because I've reached out to John, and I can kind of ask certain questions about things that I may not know before going into the meeting. I asked John, and then I feel a bit more comfortable about it, and then I feel more prepared in the event that the owner or the client asks me that question. So those are my three things.
Perfect.
And
John,
you be
anything?
careful.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
definitely. It's key. Even there's people that have a lot of sales experience, some have less.
Yeah.
But I always push them, call me, text me, let me help you. Because at the end of the day, I've been doing this for a very long time. It's kind of like I'm your coach, and I'm
Mhm.
just going to give you some tips and techniques to be able to get the deal closed faster. Okay.
Right.
And yeah, that's what we're here for, to share our knowledge and help you guys and everybody be successful. And keep building up their residual portfolio. And Marie is doing a great job. Yeah, I mean, even some of the stuff she said right now, it's kind of like, wow, like that's some really good sales stuff, even though she's like, I'm not really into sales, but her background, she's nailing some of the stuff on point that are key to get the deal closed and to get the information you need to be able to close the deal.
All right, guys. Well, thank you both for your time. We'll wrap it here.
Yeah.
All right. Talk to you guys soon.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Okay.